Comments by Florida Congressman Byron Donalds have been condemned by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, the Congressional Black Caucus, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, and the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, just to name a few. In those comments at an event designed to help Republican outreach to black voters in Philadelphia earlier this week, Congressman Donalds made what certainly seemed like positive comments about the Jim Crow era. And he claims his critics are missing the context of what he said. So here's the context.
I grew up with my mom. My dad and my mom, things didn't work out. As an adult, I look at my father and I say, bro, I don't know what happened, but you my father and I love you. Wow. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. Wow. But I'm gonna tell you this, growing up, the one thing I knew I wanted to do, and this is not about my father, this is about what I wanted to do, is I wanted to be a father to myself. Wow. And so one of the things that's actually happening in our culture, which you're now starting to see in our politics, is the reinvigoration of black families with younger black men and black women. And that is also helping to breed the revival of a black middle class in America. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America the last 10 years, and I say it because it's my contemporaries as Wesley's contemporaries, you're starting to see more black people be married in homes, raising kids. It's when you home with your wife raising your kids, and then you look at the world, you're saying, oh, wait a minute, time out. This does not look right. How can I get something to my kids? It goes back to the conversation of generational wealth. Not just having a job, generational wealth.
I am joined now by Florida Republican Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, thank you for being here. We played that lengthy segment. That is what you posted on your social media. The part of what you said that people take issue with is this line, which I'm going to read back to you again. You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but black people voted conservatively. But it is that during Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's what people have taken issue with. What are they missing?
Frankly, what's really happened is that you have, Democrats and you have the Biden campaign, and some of the media want to twist my words for political purposes. The overarching issue is talking just about black families and why you're seeing a trend of black people leaning towards Republicans in this election cycle and probably in election cycles to come. And part of that, is that when you're raising families, raising kids, et cetera, you're now thinking about all of the public policy issues, all of the economic issues, all of the education issues. And that's leading people to have divergence in political thoughts. That was the only point. The stuff that comes up about Jim Crow and twisting my words, saying I was being nostalgic or saying that Jim Crow was good for black people, that's all political spin. It's a lie. It's gaslighting. And that's truly unfortunate.
So here's the challenge, Congressman. You started out talking about your family, talking about your mom, talking about being raised, and you on your own brought up Jim Crow. In fact, you said Jim Crow 3 times for emphasis. It wasn't the media or the Democrats or gaslighters who brought up Jim Crow. It was you. You brought up Jim Crow. So why did you use Jim Crow specifically as your reference? You did that. No one else did that. You did it.
Oh, I did. We were having a conversation, just talking as, black people in Philadelphia. But if you're going to use the chronological timeline of America before the Great Society and Lyndon Johnson's time period, you had, unfortunately, the Jim Crow era in America. During that time period, the marriage rates of black Americans was significantly higher than any other time since then in American history. So it is a divergence if you're talking about marriage rates in the Black community. They have plummeted. And what we've seen recently in America, which is a very good thing we should all celebrate, is that the marriage rates in the Black community are rising again. That's good for Black families. That's definitely good for Black children. It's something I want to see. I'm quite sure you want to see it as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. Jim Crow lasted roughly from 1867 after the Civil War to 1968. Is there a specific period between 1867 and 1968 that you thought was this golden era for Black families, or a time that was good for Black families?
Joy, I never said that. And see, this is where the gaslighting comes in.
I'm going to read what you said.
All I was talking about was the marriage rates.
Stop. No,
Joy,
that's not what you said. Let's play what you said. Play what he said. Play what he said.
Families. You're saying I said it was the golden era. I never said that.
I'm going to play what you said.
I said that it was better for Black families. I never said that. I
play what he said.
Play what I said.
Play what he said.
During Jim Crow, the Black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always have been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are.
Okay, so now I'm going to go back. You said during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. What was the authority of the Black father in the Black family during Jim Crow?
Well, listen, under Jim Crow, obviously, Black people were under great persecution, unfortunately, by Southern Democrats and the Democrat Party overall in the history of our country. That's the fact. And so, well, let me finish now, Joy. And so having the Black man in the home was about first protecting the mom and protecting the kids. Incredibly important. It was the leadership in the home, which is incredibly valuable. And I think what we're witnessing, obviously, the last 30 years, definitely through my generation, is Black fathers being at home is incredibly important for the success of Black children going forward. And it's not just a Black thing, that's everybody. Fathers in home help to breed success for kids moving forward. That is a great thing for our country. That's something that has been proven throughout time. So what I'm talking about is not the golden era of Jim Crow. That's ridiculous. I would never say that. And that is the gaslighting that I'm standing up to, because that's what Hakeem Jeffries, the Biden campaign, Jamie Harrison, and the like are trying to bring up. And unfortunately, the media has followed suit with misleading headlines, and that's wrong.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones, and it looked like the Democratic Party, they're the ship in the middle of the ocean with a hole in the bottom of the ship, and it's sinking fast. It's sinking fast. So we're breaking down this clip from Joy Reid and Byron Donald, and the Democrats are mad at Byron Donald because he said that the percentage of Black marriages were higher during Jim Crow. And they are angry at him because he said Jim Crow. Now, as you can see in the clip with his exchange with Joy Reid, and I saw other videos of other Democratic supporters who they're taking it and running and saying that Byron Donald said that the like Joy Reid was saying, the Jim Crow era was the golden era for Black people. I saw a video with Roland Martin, and Roland Martin's argument was, well, you left room for people to twist your words. Well, isn't that like, can I twist any words I want to, no matter how profound or how structured somebody said or how clearly they lay it out? Can't I choose to twist anybody's words like that? Choosing to twist this. I think this is crazy. I think the Democrats, they need something to do, and this is further exposing them. But we're not going to focus just on the Democrats. I want to break down all the components of this. I want to break down who Byron Donald is, take a look at Joy Reid and the statements and everything that's being made. But first, let's talk about what Byron Donald said. PC, start with you, man, because you and I were talking the other day. What do you think about what Byron Donald said, and not only what Byron Donald said, the reaction from Joy Reid and the other Democratic constituents?
Well, I personally don't have an issue with anything he said, to be honest with you. I think that he basically stated something that is factual. You know what I'm saying? He stated something that was factual. And so, you know, during the Jim Crow era, black people were married at a clip of 90% before the Great Society laws and programs were, you know, brought into existence under Lyndon Baines Johnson. You know what I'm saying? So from that perspective, I don't have an issue. I'm struggling with seeing the issue with what he said. I mean, the man talked about wanting to get back to conservative values. Black people as a whole are the most conservative group in America as a whole, in terms of, like, it used to be anyway, in terms of upholding family values, in terms of upholding being respectful in the home and things of that nature, chivalry and all those different things. Now, of course, you know, you can't really base on the last few years, but it's become a situational issue in terms of the perception. And see, this is what's called like yellow journalism, when you take a bit and a piece of what somebody says and you totally misrepresent what's been said. And I think that that's what we're seeing right here. You know what I'm saying? It was a disingenuous argument. You got shills for the Democratic Party, who basically operate in all these networks are aligned with the different political parties. And I think that's what we just saw. And I saw, you know, basically an attack, you know what I'm saying, because he is identified as being part of the dark alliance with the Republicans and so forth. I'm not saying anybody should vote for anybody. But the bottom line is, if you have other issues with this man and his policies.
Let's talk about that. And let's be specific.
Right. So I think the reaction is bullshit. This gaslighting, he's right. They gaslit something because they don't have a leg to stand on otherwise. Like, yeah. You know, so that's you know, and I'm gonna let Pat jump on that because Pat, I've heard I hear the keyboard clicking, but Pat is already on it. So I'm gonna land my plane.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting about the exchange with Joy Reid is she didn't have a real argument outside of you said Jim Crow.
Well, she went further on, as I multitask here. She went further on to bring up, like she brought up an event that occurred where a black man was dragged out of his house and he wasn't in a position to protect his family. So she brought this one particular example up, but it still doesn't. It still doesn't. It still doesn't.
It has nothing to do with what the conversation is. It has her bringing up an unfortunate situation that happened to a black man during the Jim Crow era does not make Byron Donald's statement any less true than what they are. One anecdotal point doesn't make, like, he could have made other points. I mean, you know, we've heard other stories of black men deleting white men for violating their families and then having to uproot and move in other places, but they did defend their family with in some form of vengeance. We have a lot of those stories as well. Black men fighting back against Jim Crow. We got the Deacons for Self-Defense. A
group of black men who were fighting the Klan, having standoffs with the Klan, and also, you know, corrupt sheriff departments all throughout the South and the Midwest. So we have evidence of and these were all family men. So we have a lot more. I mean, of course, in the situation of Jim Crow, where they blurred the lines, because it used to be a time where it was called Jim Crow started after Reconstruction that ended in 1877. Really the time when Jim Crow started. It wasn't during the Reconstruction era. You know what I'm saying? So this whole notion is like a lot of things, a lot of facts are being played with here. You know? And so, you know, you take it upon an uneducated audience, because I've read the comments.
Did you see the comments?
I heard the comments.
Oh, I gotta bring them up. We're gonna go through these comments. But
yeah. So and it just shows how Black people are in and I wrote it down. Hold on, man, because I used to teach about stuff like this. Black people have an awkward conformity with dealing with the Democratic Party and the abusive relationship, right? So I identify it as the relationship between blacks and Dems. You know what I'm saying? And in that abusive relationships where black people are pretty much being whipped into, conforming to a particular relationship that is only it only benefits one side. It, you know what I'm saying? It does not benefit black people. And the only argument that Democrats can actually say for black people is that, the Republicans are these boogeymen and you shouldn't get in bed with them because they have nothing but bad intentions for you.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
well, what have we gained from being in bed with you since the election of Kennedy?
I just think this whole exchange and the whole outrage behind this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing because it's showing a lack of comprehension skills and listening skills.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, like, you are really going to say, I heard what you said, but this what I heard what you said.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was like, no, thank you. In this exchange, she said, well, you are making it seem like things were better for the black family. You said that. Let's play it again. And they played it, and that's literally not what he said. Joy.
So what he did was reflect to an era in time. And if you go through America is defined by eras. The Jim Crow era actually occurred during a specific period of time. Now, in that particular era of time, black marriages, black families were together more. And even if you didn't have the fathers, you had stepfathers in those families. Black marriages held up at a clip at 90%, and very few of them ended in divorce.
So the same people who comfortable with calling ourselves niggas mad because the man said Jim Crow. I'm gonna say that again. The same people that are comfortable with calling ourselves niggas are mad that he said black people were married at a higher rate during the Jim Crow era. Pat, jump in this, Pat, man. What are your thoughts on this exchange between Byron Donald and Joy Reid?
I mean, I think y'all hit it on the head as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the big issue they have is that he said
Jim Crow.
Jim Crow. And PC kind of nipped that whole thing in the butt. Like, America is very much defined in terms of eras. What era something occurred in. So I can understand the frustration people might have about being recalled to that time period. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I can understand it. That also don't mean that I think it's right, but I can understand it. If I squint my head, turn my head sideways, tilt my head to the left, and try to look at my own asshole, it makes sense. But from the perspective of this man was trying to get us to think about a period of time when he said Jim Crow, did everybody not jump to the same period of time? If the answer is yes, then this communication was highly effective. It got all of us to envision the exact period of time he was talking about. And in the midst of all the trials and tribulations that was going on at that time, the black family held up, which was kind of his point. The black family was able to hold up because the black family was, in fact, an actual family. Now, he's a politician. He's going to say some political shit in the middle of him saying what he's saying. I don't even understand at this point why anybody would get mad at him for being a politician. Y'all are mad at a politician for saying something politicky? That don't even make sense. Of course, he's going to make spins and point it back at the Democrats and this, that, and the third. Of course he is. That's what he's supposed to do. You're supposed to be smart enough to throw all that away. But y'all are so caught up in the Jim Crow thing, which was very effective. If we went to a group of 100,000 black people and ask each one of them what time period they thought of when you said Jim Crow, I guarantee you 99% of them are thinking of a very similar time period. It's very effective. So, Jim Crow, black family was together. We went through some trying times. Boom. Now, to the lady, whatever her name is.
Joy Reid.
Yeah,
Joy
her.
Reid.
So, where did he say golden era?
What is that? Some whales hunching?
What that is, but it was right on time. Sound like some lions or something.
That's what it sounded like to her.
Sound like some rhinos was hunching.
Yeah. Where did he say golden era though?
That's what. But see, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's just like where he never said. And this is where it's like, all right, we gotta listen with the intent to actually discuss and dialogue and understand. Not just that, and I understand this is very political time, hyper political time. That's not gonna happen. But even here, we need to understand something. This has been bothering me for a while. When we're talking about the interactions between one man and one woman, oftentimes those interactions are similar, but they're not the same as when we're talking about the interactions socially and culturally between men and women. It's like the difference between quantum physics and regular physics. They're both physics, but they operate differently. The interactions between one man and one woman, and I'm pointing this out because what was the relationship that the black man had to the black woman at that time? It's if we're gonna have that conversation, how are we having it? Are we having a physics-based conversation where we're talking about the larger structures of it? Or are we having a quantum conversation where we're talking about this one little anecdotal story that I know you got in mind is your gotcha that you want to speak to? Because if all we talking about is this one story, don't try to gotcha me. Bring up the story. Let's talk about it.